One thing I've noticed over and over on this road trip is that presidential gravesites seem to be a very popular place for people to come and exercise, to run, to walk, to ride bicycles. In California, most of the larger cemeteries don't allow activities like this, so in other parts of the country, it's nice to see that cemeteries are a lot more people-friendly. Hey everybody, Steve here in Springfield, Illinois, standing in front of Lincoln's tomb here at Oak Ridge Cemetery. And he also has this very large bust. You can see how huge this is. And look at all the pennies here. But even funnier, everyone has rubbed his nose for good luck. Eventually, I guess if they continue to do that, he won't have a nose anymore. But right now, it's definitely shiny. It says original is in the Hall of Fame in Washington, D.C. This is pretty nice. And they even have a step stool here in case you're short and you want to get up there and you want to be able to rub his nose for good luck, I guess. So here's the entrance. Now, I was talking to the guy at the door, the docent or volunteer, who told me that I asked where his house was located, and he said it's really just down the street. It's not very far, maybe a mile from here. So I'm going to go there next, see if I can get in. He said the tours are it's usually very crowded, and they only take a certain number of people in at a time. But he said usually, if you get your ticket first and then walk around town or do whatever, you can come back. You could usually get in to take a tour. So I'm going to see if I can do that. It is a Saturday, and if this was any judge here this morning, I mean, right now there's a lull. There's no one here at the moment. Oh boy, when I got here, there were a lot of people. The parking lot is just up ahead here, and I really lucked out today. It's been raining for the last few days. In fact, it was raining this morning, and the rain just stopped, and the sun just came out. It's also pretty early in the morning, so it's not too crowded. I can imagine later on this afternoon, once the buses start arriving, how crowded it's going to be. Here's a welcome sign, and just pause the video if you'd like to read it. Abraham Lincoln was the 16th President of the United States. He was also the first of 4 U.S. presidents to be assassinated. He was shot in the head by John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., on April 14, 1865, and died the next morning, April 15th, at the age of 56. By scholars and the general public, he's considered by most everyone to be the greatest U.S. president of all time. He was president during the Civil War and was instrumental in helping to abolish slavery in this country. A large group of people just entered his tomb, so I'm going to head down the hill here to visit his first temporary burial vault first. And then I'll come back up the hill to visit his permanent final resting place. So that's the permanent Lincoln tomb up on the top of the hill. And this was the original temporary tomb. And it says Abraham Lincoln was laid to rest here in Oak Ridge Cemetery's public vault during services held May 4th, 1865. Government officials, members of the military, foreign diplomats, and private citizens gathered to witness the ceremony. Over the following months, visitors in the thousands came to pay their respects. A New Yorker found that the stone doors of the sepulchre were open, and the sentry permitted people in small parties to approach the iron grating and view the coffin within. It was draped in black and festooned with garlands of flowers and evergreen shrubs. The president's casket, along with that of his son William, who had died at the White House in 1862, remained here until September 1865. They then were moved to a newly built temporary tomb located about midway up the ridge. Okay, that's interesting. I don't see anything up there. Built in 1864, this receiving tomb, like those found in many American cemeteries, served those who in their bereavement are not immediately prepared to site a lot for the final resting place. Also those who are awaiting the arrival of friends. This vault held the remains of Abraham Lincoln from May 4th, 1865 to December 21st, 1865. Definitely looks original. Now, it's interesting, look at these gates here. You can see the vaults right there. I guess his casket was here on display, at least in the beginning. Now people have come down here and thrown pennies in like a wishing well. This reminds me of coming to see Elvis's original crypt. Very old, not as old as this, but it was interesting to see his original resting place where he was until they moved him to Graceland. So let's go back up the hill to see where he's laid to rest now. And hopefully the crowds have died down by now. I've read that this is the most popular and most visited U.S. presidential gravesite, and it may be tied with JFK's gravesite at Arlington National Cemetery, but George Washington's gravesite at Mount Vernon can't be far behind. Thomas Jefferson's gravesite at Monticello was also incredibly crowded the day I was there. Hello. I'm just glad I'm here early to avoid some of the crowds today. Good, how are you?
Just yourself today?
Yeah, just me.
How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Fine. So just the two of you today?
Yeah.
And where are you visiting from?
I'm working in Peoria.
Okay. Okay. Well, feel free to head through. Just grab a break when you're ready. Please silence your phones so pictures are fine. Let us know if you have any questions. All right. So we just go through. Yeah, you just start on the right side over there.
Is this open all the time?
Yeah, we're open almost every day. There's a few holidays we're closed. So, for instance, I know we'll be closed on Labor Day, but apart from just a handful of holidays, we're open every day.
And what are the hours?
9 in the morning to 4:45.
Okay. All right, so over here. Now I'm going to drive over to Lincoln's home in downtown Springfield. According to Google Maps, it's just a little over 2 miles south of the cemetery. Well, unfortunately, the tour of Lincoln's former home, it was his one and only home, it's about a 3 to 4 hour wait. It's a free tour. This is a Saturday. It's a beautiful day in spring of 2022, so I guess it's not really a surprise that there's such a long wait. Unfortunately, I don't have 3 to 4 hours to wait to take the tour, but they did say in the visitor center that you can walk around and see the outside, the front, and also the backyard, so I'm gonna go do that. But just being here in the neighborhood where his house still exists and some of the other notable homes on the street still exist, they've blocked off all the streets and all of the homes now are on display, and I guess you can take tours at various times, and I think maybe some of them might be self-guided tours. Feel free to pause the video if you want to read the sign about the history of the house here, and I'll zoom in to get a little bit closer to make it easier to read. They've done a really nice job of preserving the home and the neighborhood. And they said in the visitor center, if you walk up to the front door, you can see his name, the way it was displayed when he lived here. And they said the back gate is open too, so we can go in and see what the backyard looks like as well. Time really does seem to have stood still in this neighborhood. It's like walking into a history book. The sign says this was a typical middle-class residence in this neighborhood at the time. So just a heads up, if you're planning to visit and to take the interior home tour, leave yourself lots of extra time since you might have a bit of a wait. This week I want to give a shout out and an extra special thank you to Kelly Hahn. Thank you, Kelly, for your very, very generous donation to my channel using YouTube Super Thanks. It's very appreciated and really means a lot. And thank you to all of you who have taken the time to subscribe as well. That means a lot too. Have any of you also been here? If so, feel free to share your visit with us down in the comments section. It's always fun to compare notes. So until our next historic road trip to the past, thanks for sharing the memories, everybody.